She scribbled in her notebook, quiet and unnoticed. A civilian assistant, they thought, until the museum's new wing was unveiled, and her name was etched in bronze. Medal of Honor. For valor in the face of death. She wasn't just taking notes. She wrote history. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If you enjoy stories about hidden heroes and the moment when ordinary appearances reveal extraordinary courage, consider subscribing for more content that explores how the greatest valor often walks among us unrecognized until truth is revealed. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of the National Museum of Military History in Washington, D.C., where preparation activities for the grand opening of the new Medal of Honor Memorial Wing had been ongoing for 3 months with the meticulous attention to detail that characterized every aspect of the museum's mission to honor American military valor and preserve the stories of exceptional courage under fire. At 8:15 a.m. on Thursday, October 12, 2023, the museum's main corridor buzzed with controlled activity as curators, historians, construction supervisors, and volunteer coordinators worked together to complete final preparations for the dedication ceremony that would formally open the memorial wing to public visitation and educational programs designed to honor Medal of Honor recipients and their extraordinary service to the nation. Among the dozens of people moving through the museum with clipboards, measuring tapes, and communication devices stood Sarah Elizabeth Chun, a 49-year-old woman whose simple appearance, navy blue cardigan, khaki slacks, comfortable walking shoes, and wire-rimmed glasses, marked her as indistinguishable from the civilian staff members, volunteer coordinators, and administrative assistants who provided essential support for museum operations and special events. Her position near the information desk, where she sat quietly with a worn leather notebook and mechanical pencil, suggested a supportive role rather than primary responsibility for the memorial wing preparation. Other staff members occasionally approached her with questions about scheduling, logistics, or procedural details that she answered with patient precision while maintaining focus on her handwritten notes. The notebook, filled with neat rows of information written in block letters, contained details about visitor flow patterns, accessibility requirements, educational program schedules, and maintenance protocols that reflected systematic thinking and attention to operational details that would ensure successful museum function after the memorial wing opening. Her approach to note-taking demonstrated the same methodical attention to detail that characterized military planning and logistics operations, where comprehensive preparation and systematic documentation determined mission success and prevented problems that could compromise operational effectiveness or personnel safety. Around her, the museum environment reflected decades of dedication to preserving American military history through carefully curated exhibits, interactive educational displays, and memorial spaces that honored service members whose courage and sacrifice had protected American interests and values throughout the nation's military heritage. The Medal of Honor Memorial Wing represented the museum's most ambitious expansion project, designed to provide comprehensive recognition for the 3,530 individuals who had received America's highest military decoration for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty in actual combat against an enemy of the United States. Sarah's involvement in the Memorial Wing preparation had begun 6 months earlier when Museum Director Dr. Patricia Williams had requested assistance with research verification and logistical coordination for the complex project that required extensive historical documentation, precision installation of memorial elements, and educational program development. Her background in historical research and organizational management had made her valuable for tasks that required systematic attention to detail, cross-referencing of military records, and coordination between various contractors, historians, and military personnel who were contributing expertise to ensure historical accuracy and appropriate honor for Medal of Honor recipients. The memorial wing design included bronze plaques displaying the names, service details, and citation summaries for every Medal of Honor recipient, arranged chronologically from the Civil War through contemporary conflicts, with interactive displays that would allow visitors to learn about specific acts of valor and the historical context that required such extraordinary courage. Sarah's research responsibilities had included verification of recipient information, coordination with family members and military historians, and review of citation details to ensure accuracy in the permanent memorial displays that would serve as lasting tribute to American military valor and educational resource for future generations. Her quiet competence and systematic approach to complex research tasks had earned appreciation from museum staff and volunteer coordinators, who relied on her ability to manage multiple projects simultaneously while maintaining accuracy standards that reflected the significance of honoring Medal of Honor recipients appropriately. "Sarah, could you check the placement specifications for the Vietnam War section again?" asked Jennifer Martinez, the museum's chief curator, whose oversight of the Memorial Wing installation required constant attention to detail and historical accuracy that would withstand scrutiny from military historians and veteran organizations. "Of course, Jennifer. The spacing requirements call for 18 inches between plaques, with standardized lighting that provides consistent illumination without creating glare that might interfere with reading the citation text," Sarah replied, consulting her notebook with the precision that had characterized her approach to every aspect of the Memorial Wing preparation. Similar interactions throughout the morning demonstrated Sarah's comprehensive knowledge of the Memorial Wing specifications and her central role in coordinating the complex installation process that required precise attention to historical accuracy, aesthetic presentation, and accessibility requirements. Her familiarity with military terminology, citation formats, and historical context suggested more than casual interest in military history, though nothing about her demeanor or conversation indicated personal military experience or connection to the Medal of Honor recipients whose stories she was helping to preserve and present. At 10:30 a.m., the arrival of General Patricia Anderson, the museum's board chairman and a retired Army four-star general whose combat service in Iraq and Afghanistan had provided her with personal understanding of military valor and the significance of Medal of Honor recognition, created increased activity as staff members prepared for leadership inspection of the Memorial Wing progress. General Anderson's presence at the museum represented more than administrative oversight. Her combat experience and understanding of military culture ensured that Medal of Honor recognition would reflect appropriate respect and historical accuracy while providing educational value for civilian visitors who might not understand the significance of actions that earned America's highest military decoration. "How are we progressing with the installation timeline?" General Anderson asked Jennifer Martinez as they conducted their inspection tour of the Memorial Wing, moving through sections that displayed different eras of American military conflict and the extraordinary individuals whose courage had earned Medal of Honor recognition. "We're on schedule for the dedication ceremony next week, thanks largely to Sarah's coordination efforts and attention to detail. She's been instrumental in managing the logistics and ensuring accuracy in all our memorial displays," Jennifer replied, gesturing toward Sarah, who continued working at the information desk with characteristic focus and professionalism. General Anderson's experience noted Sarah's systematic approach to documentation and her obvious competence in managing complex project requirements, characteristics that suggested organizational capabilities and attention to detail that would be valuable for ongoing museum operations and educational programs. "Sarah, I appreciate your contributions to this important project. The Medal of Honor Memorial Wing will serve as lasting tribute to American military valor, and your work has been essential to ensuring appropriate recognition for these extraordinary individuals," General Anderson said, approaching the information desk where Sarah continued her note-taking activities. "Thank you, General Anderson. It's been an honor to contribute to preserving these stories and ensuring that visitors understand the significance of Medal of Honor recognition and the courage these individuals demonstrated in service to our country," Sarah replied, her response demonstrating familiarity with military courtesy and genuine appreciation for the opportunity to support Medal of Honor recognition. The conversation between General Anderson and Sarah revealed mutual respect and shared understanding of the Memorial Wing's significance, though nothing in their interaction suggested personal military connection beyond Sarah's professional involvement in the museum project and her obvious respect for military service and sacrifice. General Anderson continued her inspection tour, examining bronze plaques, interactive displays, and educational materials that would provide comprehensive recognition for Medal of Honor recipients, while educating visitors about military valor and the circumstances that required such extraordinary courage and sacrifice. The Memorial Wing's centerpiece featured a massive bronze wall displaying the names of all Medal of Honor recipients, organized chronologically and accompanied by brief descriptions of their acts of valor that had earned recognition for conspicuous gallantry above and beyond the call of duty in combat against enemy forces. Each name on the memorial wall represented individual acts of courage that had saved American lives, accomplished critical military objectives, or demonstrated leadership under conditions that tested human endurance and willingness to sacrifice personal safety for mission accomplishment and fellow service member welfare. Sarah's research had contributed to the accuracy and completeness of information displayed throughout the Memorial Wing, requiring extensive cross-referencing of military records, historical documentation, and family accounts that ensured appropriate recognition for Medal of Honor recipients and their extraordinary service. At 2 p.m., as final preparations continued for the dedication ceremony scheduled for the following week, museum electricians began conducting lighting tests for the memorial wall displays that would highlight individual names and provide dramatic presentation for the bronze plaques that honored Medal of Honor recipients. The lighting system, designed to create solemn and respectful atmosphere while ensuring visibility for all displayed information, required precise calibration and testing to achieve effects that would enhance visitor experience and provide appropriate recognition for the honored individuals. Sarah, could you assist with reviewing the lighting placement as we conduct these tests? Your attention to detail and familiarity with the display layouts would be helpful for ensuring everything meets our presentation standards, requested Mark Thompson, the museum's facilities manager whose oversight of technical installations required coordination with multiple contractors and specialists. Sarah's movement through the memorial wing during the lighting tests demonstrated her comprehensive familiarity with every aspect of the installation, from bronze plaque placement to interactive display programming that would provide educational resources for museum visitors seeking to understand Medal of Honor recognition and military valor. As the lighting system activated section by section, names began appearing in dramatic relief against the bronze memorial wall, creating emotional impact that honored the extraordinary individuals whose courage had earned America's highest military recognition while providing educational experience for visitors learning about military history and service. The systematic activation of lighting displays moved chronologically through American military conflicts, beginning with Civil War recipients and progressing through World Wars, Korea, Vietnam, and contemporary operations that had required extraordinary courage and resulted in Medal of Honor recognition for service members whose actions exceeded normal expectations of duty and courage. Sarah continued taking notes about lighting effects, visitor flow patterns, and accessibility considerations while observing the memorial wall activation with professional attention that reflected her responsibility for ensuring successful museum operations and visitor experience during the upcoming dedication ceremony and subsequent public visitation. The Vietnam War section looks perfect, commented Jennifer Martinez as lighting illuminated bronze plaques honoring the 261 individuals who had received Medal of Honor recognition for extraordinary valor during the Vietnam conflict, including service members whose courage had saved countless lives under combat conditions that challenged human endurance. Now let's check the contemporary operations section, Mark Thompson said as the lighting system continued its systematic activation, moving toward displays that honored Medal of Honor recipients from Iraq, Afghanistan, and other recent conflicts where American service members had demonstrated exceptional courage and sacrifice. The contemporary operations section represented the most recent additions to Medal of Honor recognition, including individuals whose acts of valor in Iraq and Afghanistan had saved fellow service members' lives, accomplished critical military objectives, and demonstrated leadership under combat conditions that required split-second decisions with life and death consequences. As lighting activated for the contemporary operations displays, bronze plaques began appearing in dramatic relief, each name representing individual acts of courage that had occurred under enemy fire in situations where mission success and personnel survival depended on extraordinary valor and willingness to sacrifice personal safety. Sarah continued her documentation activities while observing the lighting effects, her professional attention focused on operational details that would ensure successful visitor experience during the memorial wing's public opening and ongoing educational programs. The systematic progression of lighting activation moved through the contemporary operations section, illuminating names of individuals whose Medal of Honor recognition had resulted from actions in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, and other locations where American military personnel had faced enemy fire and demonstrated courage that exceeded normal expectations of military service. Sarah Chun, Mark Thompson read aloud as lighting illuminated one of the bronze plaques in the contemporary operations section, his voice carrying across the memorial wing with routine documentation that was part of the systematic lighting test and verification process. The reading of Sarah's name from the bronze memorial plaque created immediate silence throughout the memorial wing as museum staff members processed the significance of discovering that their quiet colleague, whom they had known as a civilian research assistant, was actually one of the Medal of Honor recipients being honored in the memorial wing. Jennifer Martinez turned to stare at Sarah with an expression of shock and amazement as she understood that the woman who had been coordinating memorial wing logistics and taking systematic notes was herself one of the extraordinary individuals whose courage and sacrifice were being commemorated in the museum's most important memorial space. "Sarah, are you?" Jennifer's voice trailed off as she struggled to process the revelation that someone she had worked alongside for months, someone she had considered a civilian contractor with research expertise, was actually a Medal of Honor recipient whose acts of valor had earned America's highest military recognition. Sarah's response reflected her understanding that her carefully maintained anonymity had been revealed by circumstances beyond her control, requiring her to acknowledge military service and recognition that she had preferred to keep separate from her civilian identity and museum work. "Yes, that's my name on the memorial wall," Sarah said quietly, her voice carrying emotional weight that reflected years of managing the complex relationship between public recognition for military service and personal preference for privacy about combat experiences that included traumatic events and life-threatening situations. General Anderson, whose experience with Medal of Honor recipients and understanding of military valor provided her with immediate comprehension of the situation's significance, approached Sarah with expression combining respect, amazement, and professional curiosity about service that had earned the military's highest recognition. "Colonel Chun, I had no idea about your Medal of Honor recognition. Your service record and the actions that earned this recognition represent the highest standards of military valor and sacrifice. It has been an honor working alongside you, and I deeply regret not knowing about your extraordinary service earlier." The general's use of Sarah's military rank and formal recognition created additional emotional impact for museum staff members who began understanding that their colleagues' military background included not just Medal of Honor recognition, but senior officer rank that reflected extensive military experience and leadership responsibility. Sarah's military service had included command positions and combat deployments that culminated in the actions that earned Medal of Honor recognition. But her transition to civilian life had been deliberately designed to separate military identity from post-service activities that allowed her to contribute to military history preservation without constant reference to personal combat experience. "General Anderson, I've been honored to contribute to the Memorial Wing preparation. Working on this project has allowed me to support recognition for Medal of Honor recipients while maintaining focus on their stories rather than my own experience. Military service was something I did. Memorial preservation is something I choose to continue." Her response demonstrated the humility and focus on others that characterized many Medal of Honor recipients, whose recognition for extraordinary valor was often accompanied by discomfort with individual attention and preference for honoring fellow service members and mission accomplishment rather than personal recognition. Mark Thompson, whose lighting system had inadvertently revealed Sarah's identity, approached with apology and curiosity about the circumstances that had led to Medal of Honor recognition while she had been working anonymously alongside museum staff for months. "Ma'am, I'm sorry that the lighting test revealed information you apparently preferred to keep private. I had no idea we were working with someone whose courage and sacrifice earned Medal of Honor recognition. It's been an honor, and I apologize for any discomfort this revelation might cause." The apology reflected understanding that Medal of Honor recipients often preferred privacy about their service and recognition, particularly when they were attempting to build civilian lives and careers that didn't revolve around military identity and combat experience. Jennifer Martinez began reading from the bronze plaque that honored Sarah's Medal of Honor recognition, her voice carrying emotional weight as she shared information about extraordinary valor that had been performed by someone she had known only as a civilian research assistant and logistics coordinator. Colonel Sarah Elizabeth Chun, United States Army. Medal of Honor recipient for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty while serving as commanding officer, 2nd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, during combat operations in Afghanistan on September 15, 2018. The reading of Sarah's citation information provided context for her Medal of Honor recognition while revealing military background that included command of elite infantry forces and combat operations that had required extraordinary courage and leadership under life-threatening conditions. On that date, Colonel Chin's unit came under heavy enemy fire while conducting a rescue mission to extract wounded American personnel from a compound surrounded by overwhelming Taliban forces. When the initial rescue attempt resulted in additional casualties and mission failure appeared imminent, Colonel Chin personally led an assault through enemy fire to establish a defensive perimeter that enabled successful evacuation of wounded personnel. The detailed account of Sarah's actions created emotional responses among museum staff members who began understanding the extraordinary circumstances that had led to Medal of Honor recognition while she had been working quietly alongside them on Memorial Wing preparation. Colonel Chin's leadership under enemy fire, her willingness to expose herself to life-threatening danger for the welfare of wounded personnel, and her tactical decision-making under extreme combat stress enabled mission success and saved the lives of 12 American service members who would have died without immediate medical evacuation. The citation details provided insight into combat leadership and personal courage that had characterized Sarah's actions during the mission that earned Medal of Honor recognition, demonstrating valor and sacrifice that exceeded normal expectations of military service and command responsibility. General Anderson's understanding of combat operations and Medal of Honor criteria allowed her to appreciate the extraordinary nature of Sarah's actions and the significance of working alongside someone whose courage and leadership had saved American lives under conditions that challenged human endurance and survival. Colonel Chun, your actions on September 15th represent the highest standards of military leadership and personal courage. The fact that you've been contributing to Medal of Honor recognition for other recipients while maintaining anonymity about your own extraordinary service demonstrates continued dedication to honoring military valor and sacrifice. The general's recognition acknowledged both Sarah's combat service and her civilian contributions to military history preservation, reflecting understanding that Medal of Honor recipients often continued serving their communities through various forms of civic engagement and veteran support activities. Sarah's response to the revelation and recognition reflected her understanding of military courtesy while maintaining personal boundaries about discussing combat experiences that included traumatic events and classified operations that remained protected by security requirements and personal privacy preferences. Thank you, General Anderson. Military service taught me that recognition belongs to teams and missions rather than individuals. The Medal of Honor represents the courage and sacrifice of many people who made mission success possible, including the wounded personnel we were able to evacuate and the families who supported our deployment. Her emphasis on team service and shared responsibility demonstrated leadership principles that had guided her military career and continued to influence her approach to civilian life and community service through museum work and military history preservation activities. The museum staff members who had worked alongside Sarah for months began processing the emotional impact of discovering that someone they had known as a civilian contractor was actually one of the most decorated military personnel in American history, whose combat record included actions that saved lives and earned the nation's highest recognition for valor. Sarah, why didn't you tell us about your Medal of Honor recognition and military service? We've been working together for months, and I had no idea about your extraordinary background and the courage you demonstrated in Afghanistan. Jennifer Martinez asked, her question reflecting curiosity about Sarah's decision to maintain anonymity about military service. Sarah's explanation reflected common experiences among Medal of Honor recipients who often preferred privacy about their recognition and military service, particularly when building civilian careers and relationships that didn't revolve around military identity and combat experience. Jennifer, Medal of Honor recognition comes with public attention and expectations that can make normal civilian life difficult. I wanted to contribute to military history preservation based on my research skills and organizational capabilities rather than my personal military experience. Working on the memorial wing has been meaningful because it honors other recipients without focusing attention on my own service. Her explanation demonstrated understanding of the challenges that many veterans faced in transitioning from military to civilian life, particularly those whose military service had included combat operations and recognition that created ongoing obligations for public appearances and veteran community leadership. The revelation of Sarah's Medal of Honor recognition transformed the memorial wing preparation from routine museum project to personal tribute that honored someone who had been contributing anonymously to recognition of military valor while maintaining privacy about her own extraordinary service and sacrifice. Mark Thompson's lighting system, which had inadvertently revealed Sarah's identity, continued illuminating bronze plaques that honored Medal of Honor recipients throughout American military history, creating dramatic presentation that emphasized the significance of valor and sacrifice that had protected American interests and values. Colonel Chun, would you be willing to participate in the dedication ceremony next week? Your presence would provide authentic perspective on Medal of Honor recognition and military valor that would enhance the educational value for ceremony attendees and future museum visitors, General Anderson asked, recognizing opportunities for education and recognition that honored Sarah's service while supporting museum mission and community outreach. The invitation reflected General Anderson's understanding of Sarah's value as educator and advocate for military recognition while respecting her preferences for privacy and avoiding unwanted attention that might compromise her civilian life and personal relationships. Sarah's consideration of the invitation required balancing her preference for anonymity with recognition of her responsibilities to support military community education and Medal of Honor recognition that could benefit current service members and civilian understanding of military valor and sacrifice. General Anderson, I would be honored to participate in appropriate recognition ceremonies if that would benefit military community education and Medal of Honor awareness. However, I would prefer that focus remain on all recipients rather than individual attention that might detract from the Memorial Wing's comprehensive mission. Her acceptance reflected commitment to continued service and military community support, while maintaining boundaries that protected her civilian life and family relationships from unwanted attention and expectations associated with Medal of Honor recognition and public appearances. The dedication ceremony, scheduled for the following week, was restructured to include Sarah's participation while respecting her preferences for limited individual attention and focus on comprehensive Medal of Honor recognition that honored all recipients and their extraordinary service to the nation. Museum educational programs were enhanced to include Sarah's perspective on military valor and Medal of Honor recognition, providing authentic insight into combat leadership and the circumstances that required extraordinary courage and sacrifice for mission accomplishment and personnel welfare. The Memorial Wing opening created national attention for the museum's comprehensive recognition of Medal of Honor recipients, with media coverage that honored military valor while providing educational opportunities for civilian understanding of military service and the personal costs of protecting American interests and values. Sarah's involvement in media interviews and educational programs reflected her commitment to military community service while maintaining focus on Medal of Honor recognition as tribute to all recipients rather than individual attention that might compromise her privacy preferences or civilian life objectives. 3 months after the Memorial Wing opening, Sarah received invitations to speak at military academies, veteran organizations, and civic groups whose interest in Medal of Honor recognition and military leadership provided opportunities for education and community service that honored her military experience while contributing to civilian understanding. Her speaking engagements emphasized military values and leadership principles that could benefit civilian communities while sharing appropriate details about Medal of Honor recognition and the circumstances that required extraordinary courage and sacrifice in service to national security and personnel welfare. 6 months after the revelation of her Medal of Honor recognition, Sarah was appointed to the Congressional Medal of Honor Society Board of Directors, where her perspective on recipient welfare and recognition programs would influence national policies and support systems for Medal of Honor recipients and their families. Her board service reflected recognition that her successful transition from combat commander to civilian professional demonstrated effective integration of military experience with post-service life, while maintaining connections to military community and continued service to veteran welfare and recognition. Today, Sarah continues her museum work while serving on veteran advisory boards and participating in educational programs that honor Medal of Honor recipients and their extraordinary service to the nation. Her approach to community service reflects military values while building civilian relationships and contributing to programs that benefit veterans and military families. Her influence extends through mentorship programs where she provides guidance to current military personnel and veterans transitioning to civilian careers, sharing experience and lessons that support successful adaptation to changing life circumstances while maintaining military values and community service commitments. The memorial wing that revealed Sarah's identity continues to serve as comprehensive tribute to Medal of Honor recipients, while providing educational resources that help civilian visitors understand military valor and the personal costs of protecting American freedom and security through military service and sacrifice. General Anderson frequently references Sarah's anonymous service to the Memorial Wing Project as example of continued service and dedication that characterizes Medal of Honor recipients who continue contributing to military and civilian communities through various forms of civic engagement and veteran support activities. The lighting system that inadvertently revealed Sarah's Medal of Honor recognition has become part of the Memorial Wing's educational narrative, demonstrating that military heroes often serve in civilian communities while maintaining anonymity about extraordinary military service and recognition that honors valor and sacrifice. The story of Sarah's revelation demonstrates that Medal of Honor recipients continue serving their communities through diverse forms of civic participation and military history preservation, maintaining values and commitment to service that transcend uniform requirements and formal recognition ceremonies. Her example proves that military valor and leadership capability benefit civilian communities through various forms of service, education, and mentorship that maintain military values while supporting successful transition to civilian life and continued contribution to community welfare and veteran recognition. The Memorial Wing where Sarah worked anonymously for months became the setting for recognition that honored her extraordinary service while demonstrating community values and respect for veterans whose contributions to national security and military excellence deserve appropriate acknowledgement and appreciation regardless of their preference for privacy. The museum that hired Sarah as a civilian research assistant discovered that they had been working alongside one of America's most decorated military heroes, whose Medal of Honor recognition represented valor and sacrifice that protected American lives and interests through extraordinary courage and leadership under the most challenging combat conditions.